I'm gonna fight to make it back to full health as quickly as possible, or I'm gonna die trying. Now, I came back from Thailand in the vlog that you saw at the end of March. Basically, I've fallen ill and have been away from the office and have been in hospital actually most of that time. We've kind of now decided that we would be sharing with you exactly what happened in this time frame and what's going to happen with me personally over the next however many months, probably until the end of the year. So I mentioned a few times in the vlogs while we were traveling around the world.
Like, I actually genuinely feel it, like energy in my legs, spring in my step. Oh.
And then when we were going to the casting that I was unwell, I wasn't feeling too well.
And I'm actually ill. Ever since I came back from Thailand, got the cold sweats, don't feel very good.
And when I came back from Thailand, I thought, and a lot of the doctors I went to thought, that I had picked up some sort of tropical virus, the chikungunya virus. When I came back, I didn't think much of it. I've never been ill, never had anything severely wrong with me. So I kind of just, popped headache medication and got on with things. But it was one evening, I think I'd been back a week, and I started getting this weird tingly joint pain and back pain in my spine that got worse and worse and worse and worse. So I said to Majid, look, I think something is wrong. I've never had this kind of pain before. I think we should go to the A&E. And this was when we're still in the Chiswick office. Yeah, got to A&E and waited. The pain started getting super severe. I remember I couldn't sit, I couldn't walk, I was just restless, and it was just this throbbing. Imagine 2 needles in your spine and somebody cranking the electricity up to 12 and, just going kind of shocking, your nerves. And I was panicking a little bit, like, what the hell is wrong with me? The doctor, after I finally got to see him after 4 hours of waiting, kind of just said, did you have a fever? And I said no, and so he sent me home with paracetamol and saying, look, maybe it's some acid reflux, problem, or maybe you're constipated because you're taking all these painkillers, but you haven't had a fever. It's probably nothing severe. So sends me home. But a couple weeks later, I had another attack, another spine throbbing, electric kind of convulsion experience, and this time it was even worse. So again, it was Majid. He took me to A&E. It's pretty much the same thing happened. We waited for hours. I was in severe pain, and I already knew how long it lasted last time, so I was kind of really mentally drained by the prospect of having this kind of pain go on for that many hours. And again, I was sent home with painkillers and made to believe that it's probably some sort of virus, and I shouldn't panic, and if I hadn't had a fever, the virus is probably going to be out of my system soon. Then I was still feeling crap. I went and did the Julius Dean video, the prank video, just on painkillers. At night I'd wake up and I had cold sweats, and I'd have to kind of dry off multiple times at night, and my bed was soaked every time, and like the pain just got worse and worse and worse and worse to the point where it was almost unbearable. I went back to A&E for the 3rd time. I literally at this point I was crying on the A&E floor. I knew these attacks last for anywhere from 6 to 10 hours of non-stop pain, and the painkillers don't really help, and it's just throbbing back pain. It's just there's nothing you could do. Sitting, lying, walking, it's just this piercing electric pain. They eventually gave me some kind of morphine, which didn't really help, and tried to give me painkillers, but ultimately told me, yeah, you're probably constipated. And I was like, I don't think I am. Things seem to be normal, but if I am, then why don't you find a way to flush me out? And at this point I was in so much pain. I said to the doctor, yeah, whatever you need to do, go and do it. And he just basically turned me around, put on a glove, stuck his finger up my ass, and I was like, whatever, if this is going to make me better, I'll take a finger up the ass any day of the week. But he was just like, yeah, there's nothing there, and didn't actually, do a full flush that I thought he was going to do. Sent me home with painkillers, and again, 3rd time to A&E. Yeah, we'll have to wait for the results. It's probably just some weird virus. You'll get better. At this point, I felt really lost. My GP didn't help, the A&E didn't help, the Center of Infectious Diseases told me I had to wait, and I had this relentless back pain that just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I felt really trapped, and like I wasn't quite sure what to do. And I was like, you know, morphine doesn't help, and I'm living in, you know, a Western country, and no one is taking me serious. Like, people are just sending me home, and I looked like a friggin' ghost as well. So I remember the night I was here in Clapham in this house, got another attack, and Majid was here, and this time it was even worse. It was you know, to the point where I was just not even like not just crying, but like bawling my eyes out, and there's like a sense of panic. I knew what to expect. I knew how many hours this go on for, and the intensity was just even worse in the beginning, and it had this sort of almost claustrophobic feeling to it, where I was like, you know, fuck, what can I possibly do to get this resolved? We ended up calling the ambulance, but the ambulance doesn't come if you tell them the truth. If you tell them, like, this is what's happening, like, unless the person is not breathing and, you know, on the floor half dead and non-responsive, they don't come. So the first time Majid called, they just said, yeah, look, take him to the A&E. And I couldn't at this point, like, the pain was just too strong. So I said, look, just call them and tell them, like, I'm not responsive and I'm on the floor, and like, tell them whatever you need to tell them to get them here. And so he did, and, you know, they showed up, and they had to like lift me out of the room down the stairs, and they gave me laughing gas or whatever the gas is, and morphine. You know, while it made it a little bit kind of, you know, got tingly, and it made it a little bit more bearable, like that stinging, electric, persuasive pain just didn't go away. And yeah, I was hospitalized. You know, they gave me some antibiotics, and it made the pain go away. And so they sent me home. As I got home in the morning, they basically called me back because they'd found some abnormal cells in my blood. At this point, I'm like, what could it be? I'm, you know, feeling a little bit scared now that there's something seriously wrong with me. I get taken to the cancer ward, but the doctor that saw me, the emergency doctor, he looked me in the eyes and said, it is probably some sort of virus, don't worry. He was going to send me home with laxatives, antibiotics, and painkillers, and just wait for me to get better. You know, the hematology department had done some blood tests, and they'd found some abnormal cells. He looked at me and said, there's no way you've got cancer or anything, but either way, they wheeled me into the cancer ward, and, you know, that's the first time I got properly scared, because I see, you know, the cancer patients around me, you know, super skinny, and you could see this. Cancer eats people alive, so, you know, if they thought that I merited being on the ward, there's probably something seriously wrong with me. Yeah, they wheeled me onto the station, and then, you know, they give me antibiotics. It was a Friday, and they basically kept me there the whole weekend, pumped me full of antibiotics. And on Monday, when they re-looked at my blood had cleared up and I looked better. Hematology consultant decided that they didn't need to do a bone marrow biopsy, which is when they stick the needle in, take a sample of your bone marrow, and then, you know, they can understand if you're healthy or if there's something wrong with you. I wasn't too keen on the procedure, because obviously I didn't want a big needle to be rammed into my spine, you know. And when they told me, oh, if it was anything cancer related, then you know, it wouldn't have reacted to the antibiotics, your blood wouldn't have cleared up. So I think it is some sort of virus, and they kind of sent me home. I, you know, felt better for about a day or two, and then came to see the boys in the office, and I thought, you know, finally I'm, you know, on my way back to health. Actually signed up to the gym in Farringdon that afternoon, and then in the evening of that day, I started feeling weird again, and that same tingling in my spine came back. I remember kind of walking outside the office, trying to walk it off, and I kind of started, you know, feeling like, okay, it's coming back, and it's not something I can walk off. And I remember basically collapsing and just like messaging Majid, going, dude, I'm in trouble, and locked myself into the disabled toilets and basically vomited everywhere. I couldn't even make it to the toilet. Like, yeah, the pain was back. And again, ambulance came. They didn't take what I had very serious. Asked me stupid questions, took me this time to Guy's and St Thomas Hospital in the middle of the night, and I told them the story that I was at Westminster Hospital. They didn't do the bone marrow biopsy, so this time, you know, the consultant, you know, liaised with them, called them up straight away. They did the bone marrow biopsy. As I was waiting for it, like, the infectious disease department came down, and they kind of, you know, said, yeah, we'll take you in, and you can be on our station. And the hematology department came down, and both of them kind of did their research, and I was, you know, praying that it would be the infectious disease department that would take me back upstairs, and I wanted to have a virus, and I didn't want to have the hematology team, you know, come and tell me that I had something sinister. But quickly, the infectious disease department kind of just said, yeah, it looks like you don't have a virus. And it was the hematology department that stayed, and I could just see it in the guy's eyes, like, you know, when he was, you know, wheeling me over to, again, the cancer station. And that's the first time I got really scared. That's the first time I was like, fuck, you know, I just turned 30 and here I am being wheeled in a hospital bed, and I think I'm about to get some really bad news. Yeah, so they wheeled me onto the station again, surrounded by cancer patients, and then for some reason I just accepted that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I became really calm. I was like, okay, now I just want to know, what are my chances? What do I have? What's wrong with me? Like, I'm going to make it out, And I remember, the consultant coming in, and he was super good because he told me I had leukemia. Immediately said it's curable. I'm going to cure you of it. It's the kind that you can cure. It's a lot of children get this type of leukemia, and few adults do. With an intense 6-month chemo cycle, which isn't going to be fun, your chances of recovering to full health are going to be high and good. And I remember my brother came down, my girlfriend was there, and Majid was there. And as the guy said, "You've got leukemia," Majid actually fainted. The doctors were looking after Majid when I just had my cancer diagnosis, and the other nurses came and they're like, "Who's the ill one? Is it the cancer guy or the guy that just fainted?" And like Majid, who'd slept on the floor and taken me to all these A&Es, and we had conversation, we're like, there's no way you've got cancer, like it's some sort of virus. And he was tired and dehydrated and he just collapsed, and obviously a big shock. So I started my my treatment in May. I spent the whole of May in hospital, did my first chemo cycle. Side effect wise, it was intense. I could feel the kind of poison going into the blood, killing all fast dividing cells. They gave me steroids as well. The only real side effect was that I put on weight, retained a lot of water, my face looked like a watermelon, and I couldn't stop eating, craving food and stuff. The second cycle, which I'm in the 4th week of now, was a lot more intense. It was as an outpatient, so going to the hospital every day, not the weekends, but every day, and kind of being injected through this PICC line that I have here. I'm gonna have to have it redressed, but they had some trouble putting it in, but I have had this in since the beginning of May. Yeah, I'm in my 3rd week of the second cycle, 4th week, sorry. So I've got this week, and every Monday they put a needle into my back and inject the chemo directly into the spine to make sure that there's no chance of any of the leukemia in the spinal cord kind of staying, and the rest goes through the PICC line. And the last 2 weeks have been really rough. I basically vomited non-stop. It was just bile coming up, no appetite, and a few times I had to go into A&E, and I even had to go into hospital for them to give me different anti-sickness medications. So it's rough when you don't have an appetite, when like your head feels like it's going to explode. And yeah, the prospect of continuously over the next however many months, it's 6 months of 4-week cycles with breaks in between, giving me a bit of time to recover the blood. The prospect of it is intense because I can't exercise, I can't do much. I had a blood transfusion 2 days ago because my blood count dropped to a point where even walking up the stairs is difficult. I feel like an old man, and I'm trying to stay positive and think, look, I'm lucky that there's people that have different versions of leukemia, or their chances are looking grim. I just gotta suck it up and do what I have to do, and it's not going to be pretty. It's honestly probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. But with going through something like this over the last 2 months, when you think you're kind of close to the end of your life, in some moments I genuinely thought, okay, this is it. And then it puts things in perspective. It's staying in the hospital and having people around you kind of receive really bad news, and you're listening into conversations between doctors and patients, and the kind of stuff that gets said. You start thinking, damn, I remember complaining because it was Monday, or because it was raining, or about stuff that really doesn't matter, or arguing with people just because you want to be right. Like, life's a pretty awesome thing, and definitely for me, I've learned to appreciate things more that I used to take for granted. Like, I can at this point in time not run to the store. A couple times as I started feeling lightheaded, had to sit down, and with what I'm going through, your body just becomes super weak. And being able to do that, feeling healthy, having confidence in your body working properly, like those are all things, don't take those for granted. I certainly won't, if I get through this. And so in a weird way, I'm thankful for the experience, because it's opened my eyes in many ways, and it's definitely one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. do. You know, I don't want to turn this into a sob story. We just decided as a business that we're going to go on this mission together, share our entrepreneurial journey. We're going to show the good, the successes, but also the ugly and, you know, the struggles. And obviously me not being there, you know, we were a man down, and there's not that much I can do to help everyone. And, you know, mad respect to everyone in the business for kind of stepping up and working super hard and doing their bit. And so, yeah, I'm going to fight to make it back to full health as quickly as possible, or I'm going to die trying.